On National Day, the company's young male model posted on Weibo. The Rolls-Royce from President Xiao is absolutely stunning. I'll definitely take good care of the beautiful President Xiao from now on. He commented, how exactly do you take care of her? Mind showing me? President Xiao's husband. The next second, my wife called. She shouted at me in anger. Shenchu, your own heart is filthy. So you see filth in everything. Song Xian is the top star of our company. If you dare humiliate him again, believe me, I'll divorce you. Everyone was whispering, accusing me of being a loser who can't even freeload properly. The young model also sent me a screenshot of his wife's transfer of 1,314 million yuan to him, showing off smugly. You spent 10 years with Chia Xiao and still drive that beat-up Pentium. I've been by Chia Xiao's side for just a month, and I've easily gotten a Rolls-Royce and millions in transfers. He arrogantly told me that the one who isn't loved is the real third party. I laughed. In the business world, I don't care about love. I only know that every penny Xiao Nanwei spent on him came from our joint marital property. Xiao Nanwei didn't return until late at night. Seeing me sitting on the sofa, she paused for a moment, then carelessly tossed a small box onto the table. The dim light fell on Xiao Nanwei's face. She didn't give me an extra glance, looking exceptionally weary. Shinchu, what did you mean by that comment you made today? Song Zhen is now the pillar of our company, bringing in countless benefits. I suggest you stop being so petty. After all, he's far more valuable than you. Xiao Nanwei only glanced at me when she said the last sentence. I was somewhat distressed that my decent eyesight allowed me to see her mocking and disdainful gaze all too clearly, even in such dim light. Xiao Nanwei turned and walked into the room immediately after saying this. We've been separated for a long time now, often going days without exchanging a single word. We're less like a married couple and more like strangers sharing a home. But today is our 10th wedding anniversary. I looked at the gift box on the table. The pitch-black box had no writing on it, looking exceptionally plain. Maybe this is a wedding anniversary gift from Chia Nanwei. Holding onto this cautious hope, I picked up the box. Inside the box was a men's watch. The watch looked very ordinary, but thinking that it was a gift from Chia Nanwei, I still couldn't help but curl the corners of my mouth. It had been a long time since she last gave me a gift. But in the beginning, it hadn't been like this at all. At that time, Xiao Nanwei didn't have much money, but she always tried her best to make me happy, sometimes even just by spotting a small pendant while we were out shopping. She would smile shyly, then secretly place it on my desk when I wasn't paying attention, thinking of the Xiao Nanwei from those days. The smile on my face faded. Still, I fastened the watch around my wrist. The cold strap did nothing to dispel the warmth in my heart. Just at that moment, Chia Nanwei suddenly opened the door and walked out. I looked up about to thank her for the gift when I saw Xiao Nanwei frown. She strode up to me, grabbed my wrist without a word, and forcibly yanked the watch off it. Who told you to wear this watch? Shinchu, since when did you become a thief? A burning pain spread across my skin. But I couldn't care less. I could only stare blankly at Xiao Nanwei. This isn't you. I've had enough of this. What did Song Zhen ever do to you that you even have to snatch a watch from her? Xiao Nanwei looked at me with disgust. I finally came to my senses. So, this watch was meant for Song Zhen. Xiao Nanwei took out her phone and sent a voice message irritably. Song Zhen, the watch meant for you has already been worn by Shinchu. I'll go buy you a better one. It will definitely match your car. Xiao Nanwei said this as she walked out without looking back. Phone in hand. When she passed by the trash bin, she simply tossed the watch straight into it. Her steps were hurried and she looked visibly anxious. But back then, all I wanted was for her to come with me to buy some clothes. And she kept making excuses, saying she was too busy. It turns out it wasn't that she didn't have time, only that I didn't deserve to waste it. I took out my phone and stared blankly at the anniversary celebration banquet of the open-air Starlight Top Music restaurant. This restaurant was one Xiao Nanwei had casually mentioned wanting to visit not long ago, and I've always kept it in mind just for the anniversary day to be able to give her a surprise. It seems that now I'll have to go alone. I took out the only formal outfit from the closet. It was a gift from Xiao Nanwei many years ago and now it's even starting to pill. That was the first sum of money Chia Nanwei's company ever earned. When she gave me this suit, her smile was radiant and bright. She said that in the future she would earn even more money and buy me many, many things. Later, she did make a lot of money. Just none of it was spent on me. But I never expected to see Xiao Nanwei and Song Zhen in this very restaurant. The smile on Xiao Nanwei's face completely vanished the moment she saw me. She strode toward me, her expression so dark it could drip ink. Shinchu, what are you doing here? Did you come to meet some rich woman here? Xiao Nanwei gave me a few glances and sneered. And Song Zhen by her side wasn't idle either. That's not right of you. Brother Shin, Executive Xiao works so hard out here. How could you do something like this? Though Song Zhen said these words, her eyes sparkled with the gleam of someone enjoying the show. Xiao Nanwei let out a soft snort. Men are just pathetic. I knew it was right not to give you any money. Otherwise, who knows what you'd be doing with my money? The disdain in Xiao Nanei's eyes pierced my heart like a sharp sword. I just quietly gazed at her and said softly, "Today is our 10th wedding anniversary." The disdainful expression on her face instantly froze. I carefully studied Xiao Nanwei's face, hoping to see even a trace of guilt in it, but there is none. She quickly composed herself and promptly came up with a reasonable excuse. So what? It's not like you don't know how busy I usually am at work. If it weren't for certain people being completely useless and unable to share any of my burdens, why would I have to personally attend to everything myself? Until now, Xiao Nanwei still shifts all the blame onto me. She may have forgotten back when we started our business together. I already had some assets. While she was just a newcomer, I was the one who introduced Xiao Nani to all the clients and bosses. At that time, Xiao Nani followed behind me, her eyes filled with deep admiration. Back then, I only regarded Xiao Nanwei as my junior with no romantic feelings whatsoever. It was only later when Xiao Nanwei confessed to me on a night under the starry sky, looking at me with her sparkling eyes, that every word she spoke was so earnest. She said that she was nurtured by me and that all her achievements should also belong to me. After marriage, Xiao Nani said she felt insecure. So, I supported her step by step to become the president of the company, even merging my own company with hers to put her in power. As for me, I simply supported her quietly from behind. Yet, the girl who once tugged at my sleeve and softly asked for my help now looks down on me as a loser. The girl in my memory gradually overlapped with the Xiao Nanwei before my eyes and a sharp pain shot through my heart. But I didn't want to argue with her anymore. So, I turned around to leave behind me. Xiao Nanwei's insults rang out. He can't take a few comments without making a face. Does he think he's some kind of emperor? Old and bad-tempered. Not even worth a single finger. I've had it with him. My steps were unsteady as I made my way outside. Tonight's night sky was still full of stars. But that girl from back then had long since disappeared into the river of time, never to return. I was just about to drive away when I received a message from the female lead. "All right, stop being mad. I brought Song Zhen to meet a client today. He's in a critical phase of advancing his career. Once I'm done accompanying him, I'll come keep you company." Even just through the screen, I could imagine how impatient Xiao Nanwei was when she said this. Yet shamefully, I still found my heart softening. 5 years of dating and 10 years of marriage, 15 years in total. How many 15-year spans does a person get in a lifetime? Still, I chose to trust Xiao Nanwei and stopped in my tracks instead of leaving. I even thought to myself that if Xiao Nanwei truly apologized to me today, I could forgive everything she had done and said and start over with her. But as it turned out, Xiao Nani still let me down until late at night. I still hadn't seen any sign of Xiao Nani. Every call I made and every message I sent vanished into thin air. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I saw Song Zhen's post on Moments. It was a photo of Xiao Nanwei accompanying him on a bungee jump. In that moment, my heart, which had been hanging high, suddenly hit the ground and shattered into pieces. I finally understood that for some things, some relationships, it's useless if you're the only one trying to mend them. I drove home alone. Perhaps it was because I had been out in the cold wind for too long. But that very night, I came down with a bad cold and felt drowsy the whole night, yet it seemed as if I barely slept at all. It wasn't until morning that the sound of Xiao Nani opening the door woke me up. I woke up on the sofa, still wearing the same suit from the night before. In contrast, Xiao Nani looked as if she had been bathed in a spring breeze. She frowned and immediately launched into an accusation against me. "I just got back and you're already giving me that attitude. What do you mean by that, Shinchu? Do you even know how hard I work out there every day? You stay home all day doing nothing. Just walking around with that sour look on your face. I never knew before that Xiao Nanwei, who usually speaks so softly, could be so sharp-tongued when she scolds someone." I calmly looked at her and simply asked softly, "What were you doing last night?" Xiao Nanwei froze for a moment upon hearing my words, but she quickly composed herself, showing not the slightest hint of guilt on her face. She was so self-righteous that it almost made me feel like I had misunderstood her over something this trivial. "Shinchu, as a man, how can you be so narrow-minded? Yes, I did go bungee jumping with Song Xian last night. But that's because he brought huge profits to the company. If only you could be as capable as Song Xian. I wouldn't mind spending a bit more time with you. But can you? You're nothing but a useless loser waiting to die at home. Xiao Nanwei's mouth was like a firecracker. Each word she uttered diminished my love for her by another fraction. I remained silent for a long time, just quietly gazing at her. Perhaps because my sickly pale looked truly terrible. Xiao Nanwei rarely showed a willingness to coax me. Frowning, she casually placed a cake on the table. I bought you a cake. That's enough, isn't it? I still didn't say a word and reached out to open the cake, but the cake inside was already half-eaten. I looked up at Xiao Nanwei with a puzzled gaze. She touched the tip of her nose and explained on the way back. Song Zhen said he was a bit hungry, so I let him have some. It's just a piece of cake. Xiao Nanwei's explanation made me laugh out loud. My laughter immediately angered her. Xiao Nanwei frowned and reproached. Shenchu, can you stop being so petty? Getting mad over everything like a girl. The moment her voice trailed off, her phone rang. It was a call from Song Zhen on the other end of the line. Song Zhen spoke in a faint tone. Xiao, you gave the cake to Brother Shen, didn't you? Brother Shen, I'm really sorry. I was just so hungry when I got back that I couldn't help but eat a little. It's fine if you're mad at me, but please don't be mad at Xiao. She already works so hard outside. Song Zhen's words hit Xiao Nani right in the heart. Alright, Ashin, you're still the most sensible one, unlike some people who not only freeload but also act entitled while doing it. Xiao Nanwei shot me a disdainful look as she spoke. Song Zhen chuckled twice and said coquettishly, "Oh dear Xiao, stop praising me. These are all things I should do. After all, given our relationship." Song Zhen's tone was particularly suggestive. I smiled and glanced at Xiao Nani and for once caught a hint of fluster on her face. She quickly interrupted Song Zhen. Alright, Ashin, I'll come find you at the company tomorrow. Without waiting for Song Zhen's reply, she hung up the phone directly. I looked at Xiao Nanwei with a half smile, and the moment before she spoke, I said softly, "Let's get a divorce. During the division of marital property, it's 70-30. With me taking 70 and you 30, then return the part of the company that originally belonged to me. I believe the proposal I've put forward is entirely reasonable. After all, now that Xiao Nani has cheated during the marriage and has someone else in her heart, she should be all for the divorce with both hands and feet." Unexpectedly, Xiao Nanwei's expression grew worse and worse after I proposed the divorce. As soon as I finished speaking, she directly picked up the cake from the table and hurled it at me. Lately, Xiao Nanwei's temper has become increasingly volatile. Aside from verbally humiliating me on a daily basis, she occasionally lashes out physically as well. After all, she is a woman and still my wife, so I chose to endure it. But this time, I no longer wanted to hold back. I stood up, wiped the cake off my face, and directly grabbed Xiao Nani by the collar. Her eyes were filled with panic, and her body stumbled. I looked at Xiao Nani, who was right in front of me, and narrowed my eyes. If you don't want to divorce me, that's fine. But don't blame me for using some underhanded methods. After all, I was never a good person to begin with, but ever since that day, Xiao Nani seemed like a completely different person. Not only did she come home on time every day, care for my daily needs, and take the initiative to go out shopping and on dates with me, but she also cut off all contact with Song Zhen. There were even several times when Song Zhen came to the house on her own, only to be driven away by Xiao Nanwei. Seeing that I remained unmoved, Xiao Nani even offered to return the company to me. I looked at Xiao Nanwei in astonishment, hardly able to believe it. But she smiled so sweetly and leaned against me. Achoo, I was blinded by my own foolishness before and went astray. Please don't blame me. I've come to my senses now. My career is thriving, and it's time for you to return to my side and help me. That way, I'll have less pressure and more time to spend with you. Let's be together properly, and I'll have a child for you. All right. Xiao Nani looked up at me, her eyes still just as bright. For a moment, I even felt dazed, as if I had been transported back to the time when I had just fallen in love with her. Everything seemed to return to the very beginning. The coldness and humiliation before felt like a dream. If only I hadn't caught that fleeting hint of calculation in Xiao Nani's eyes the next day, seemingly wanting to prove that everything she had said was true. Xiao Nanwei took me directly to the company. She generously introduced me to every employee in the company, saying that I was her husband, watching the employees whisper among themselves. I didn't need to guess that they were calling me a kept man. Because of Song Xian, I often argued with Xiao Nanwei. This made the entire company's employees see me as a guy who acts tough while mooching off a woman. I cast my eyes down, hiding the cold sneer in them. Xiao Nanwei probably brought me to the company today just so her employees could mock me. But the next second, Xiao Neni took my hand directly. She looked at me with determined eyes, her tone exceptionally gentle. Besides, she was also the founder of this company. Over the years, he went out of his way to make me feel at ease staying at home. So much so that I forgot I owe my success today to his help. So, starting today, Shinchu will return to his rightful place at work. I hope you will respect him just as you respect me. Xiao Nanwei's remarks caused an uproar. I also looked at her with utter shock, unable to believe such words had come from Xiao Nan's mouth. While I was still stunned, Song Zhen from the crowd spoke up. After mooching off others for so many years, whether he can even do it right is another matter entirely. I am already used to being mocked by Song Zhen, so hearing those words stirred no emotion in me at all. Unexpectedly, Xiao Nani immediately frowned and reprimanded Song Zhen in front of everyone. Song Zhen, watch your attitude. No matter what, you're just an employee. Song Zhen, humiliated in public, flushed red and simply turned around and left. However, his actions did not catch Xiao Nanwei's attention from beginning to end. Xiao Nanwei's gaze had only been fixed on me at that moment. I even felt that if she could always treat me this way, even if it were fake, I would willingly accept it ever. Since Xiao Nane exposed my identity, everyone else in the company has seemingly changed their tune. They swarm around me non-stop addressing me as President Shin and swept along by their pandering. I signed several deals in a single evening. Among them, there was even a deal with Jiang Doni, the richest person in the province. After the deal was signed, Xiao Nanwei sat beside me, beaming with excitement. Achoo, this general manager, Jiang, is no ordinary man. He's not only the richest person in the province with countless businesses under him, but his investment insight is also top-notch. He's almost never made a mistake. If it weren't for me, you'd never have come into contact with someone of his caliber in your entire life. Xiao Nani smiled, her eyes filled with pride. I looked at the message Jiang Doni had sent to my phone, then turned off the screen. Yeah, that's right. Seeing my lukewarm response, Xiao Nani lost interest in continuing the conversation. Then shifting the conversation, he said, "It just so happens there's a banquet tonight. Achoo, come with me." Usually for such banquets, she would bring Song Zhen along. It's not like I never voiced any objection, but Xiao Nani would just say I'd only embarrass her. She even gave me a harsh scolding. Now I no longer feel like I bring her shame to attend the banquet. Xiao Nanwei took the initiative to buy me a brand new suit. I followed her to the banquet venue. Having never attended a banquet all these years, I suddenly felt a bit at a loss. While Xiao Nani was exchanging pleasantries with others, I stepped out of the venue to get some fresh air. Little did I expect to run into Song Zhen here. He had appeared behind me at some point, his twisted face filled with rage and resentment toward me. Before I could gather my thoughts, Song Zhen lunged at me fiercely. "Go to hell, Shinchu." He lowered his voice and roared. The next moment, my body had already plunged into the pond. The water engulfed me from all sides, and the air in my nasal cavity was instantly squeezed out. My waterlogged suit became unbearably heavy, as if a hand were pulling me down, making me sink deeper and deeper. I can't swim. Ever since I accidentally fell into a river as a child and nearly drowned, I have developed an extreme fear of water. I struggled constantly trying to surface, but all I could see was Xiao Nanwei's indifferent gaze as if it had nothing to do with her. In that instant, all the kindness Xiao Nanwei had shown me over the past few days vanished into thin air. It was only when the second splash came that Xiao Nani on the shore instantly became fraught with panic. I turned my head and saw Song Zhen figure submerged in the water, and Xiao Nani recklessly swimming toward him without a second thought. I understood then the so-called tenderness was nothing but an illusion deliberately created. In the end, I was still pulled out of the water by the venue security guard. Xiao Nanwei put her arm around Song Zhen's shoulder, looking at him with a face full of worry. I simply took the bath towel handed over by the security guard and wrapped it around myself. After such an unexpected incident, it was naturally impossible to stay any longer at the banquet. Xiao Nanwei suggested taking Song Zhen home first, and I remained silent. It was only after leaving the venue that I stopped in my tracks and stared blankly at Xiao Nani. "Xiao Nanwei, let's get a divorce." This is the second time I filed for divorce. But Xiao Nani isn't as angry as she was the first time. She just stands by Song Zhen's side, looking at me calmly, then suddenly breaks into a faint smile. "All right, after all, we've been married for 10 years. I'll give you the company as compensation for your emotional distress." After saying this, Xiao Nanwei left together with Song Zhen, watching their side-by-side figures retreat into the distance. I had no idea when my fingernails had already dug deep into my palms. The divorce proceedings went very quickly, at least faster than I had imagined. On the day we received the divorce certificate, the weather was sunny and bright. Xiao Nanwei arrived, accompanied by Song Xian. As I looked at the documents in my hand, I couldn't help but think of the day I married Xiao Nanwei. We had spent a long time choosing the date before finally deciding to get married that day. But as luck would have it, just as we arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau, a torrential downpour began. The smile on Xiao Nanwei's face vanished in an instant. With a mournful face, she said that getting married on a rainy day was not a good omen. I laughed and teased her about her superstition, never imagining that my words would turn out to be prophetic. As Xiao Nanwei was about to part ways with me, I couldn't help but call out to her. Xiao Nanwei, in those final days, did you have even the slightest bit of sincerity? I studied her face, looking at her with an almost pleading gaze, but she let out a scornful laugh. How pitiful, Shinchu. Even now, you actually still think I love you. Let me tell you the truth. I was just playing with you. What do you even think you are? Every word from Xiao Nanwei felt like it was trying to push me into an endless abyss, as if fearing I hadn't suffered enough. Song Zhen reached out and put his arm around her shoulder. Brother-in-law, I still have to thank you for proposing the divorce. After all, Xiao Xiao is already carrying my child. Xiao Nanwei reached out and gently placed her hand on her flat belly. The corners of her lips were curved into an incredibly happy smile. My gaze followed her movements, and I tugged at the corners of my own mouth. It wasn't that I had never thought about having a child with Xiao Nanwei. But no matter how many times I brought it up, she never agreed. She wasn't even willing to consider adoption. She said she didn't want to waste her prime youth on raising children because I loved her. I compromised. But it turned out that what she didn't want to waste her youth on wasn't the child. It was me. In this moment, I finally let go of the stubbornness in my heart. I've finally come to believe that Xiao Nanwei is no longer the person she once was. After divorcing Xiao Nanwei, I threw myself entirely into my work and her new company was operating quite successfully as well. I have more than once run into Song Zhen accompanying Xiao Nanwei while she was out working. The two of them looked as sweet as ever. Every time they see me, they make a point of throwing a few taunts my way, but I've never paid them any mind. As far as I'm concerned, the day we parted ways at the Civil Affairs Bureau, Xiao Nanwei had already become a thing of the past. It's just too bad that I seem to be the only one who feels that way. At the bidding meeting, I ran into Song Zhen and Xiao Nanwei once again. The moment Song Zhen saw me, her eyes lit up, and she pulled Xiao Nanwei by the hand and walked straight toward me. I couldn't dodge in time and was blocked by them. Oh, if it isn't Shinu, Chairman Shin, how's business been lately? Song Zhen's tone carried a hint of mockery. As always, I remained silent, thinking that as long as I didn't speak, they would soon lose interest. But clearly, I had underestimated Song Zhen's dislike for me, he continued. Hey, some people, as men, can't perform, and after 10 years still haven't gotten their wife pregnant. I figure it's the same for them as bosses. Maybe after 10 years, they still can't turn a profit for their company. As a man, the one thing you can't tolerate is being told you're not up to it. I clenched my fists and looked at Xiao Nanwei. She looked a lot fuller. Probably because of the pregnancy. Wasn't it you who said you didn't want kids? Because Chia Nanwei said she didn't want children. I got a vasectomy just so she could focus entirely on her career. But in Xiao Nanwei's eyes, everything I did couldn't compare to a single word from Song Xian. Xiao Nanwei pursed her lips and said indifferently, "Did I force you to do it? That was your own decision. What does it have to do with me?" No one stood up to refute such unreasonable words. The crowd around was watching the spectacle, but none of them dared to speak up for me. In their eyes, Xiao Nanwei is far more useful than a useless fool like me, who took over the company, yet has failed to take any action. She has managed to run a new company in such a short time. I was about to say something when a commotion broke out in the crowd. Turning toward the source of the sound, I saw a man in a black suit walking toward us expressionlessly. Chia Nanwei, who had been full of mockery just moments before, instantly changed her expression and quickly stepped forward to meet him. "Mr. Zhang, I never expected to run into you here. Regarding the collaboration I mentioned to your assistant last time, I was wondering what your thoughts are on it. Rest assured, Mr. Zhang, although our company is just starting out, with my experience, this project will definitely turn a profit in the shortest time possible." You see, unfortunately, Zhang Doni did not wait to hear her out. His footsteps didn't even pause for a moment as he walked straight toward me. The man who had just been keeping a stern face immediately broke into a warm smile and reached out to pat me on the shoulder. "Bro, I heard you finally gotten over your love-struck phase and are ready to come back. Nice. I was starting to think I'd never see this day in my lifetime." Jang Doni's words left everyone in silence. Feeling a bit embarrassed, I touched the tip of my nose, finding the situation awkward. Yeah, back then I wasn't in my right mind. Jang Doni and I have known each other for many years. Apart from Jang Doni, there are two other brothers who started their own businesses. Back in the day, we built everything from scratch and supported one another. After one night of heavy drinking, we even became sworn brothers. I am the oldest, so everyone calls me brother. Later on, I married Xiao Nani and withdrew from the business world, while those few brothers of mine only grew bigger and bigger, especially Jang Doni. Over the years, even though I stopped working, Jang Doni would still instinctively send me a message whenever he ran into a problem. Our contact never ceased. Jang Doni turned to look at Xiao Nani, who was completely dumbfounded, and gave her a once-over. So, this is the woman. Bro, your investment instincts are solid, but your taste in women is pretty average. Xiao Ningwei finally snapped back to reality, her eyes wide open and her voice turning exceptionally sharp. Mr. Jang, you know him. He's no good. Mr. Jang, even the check he gave you a while back bounced, and that cooperation deal is definitely going to lose money. Mr. Jang is clearly trying to screw you over. Xiao Nani, afraid that the cooperation opportunity would be lost because of my relationship with Jang Doni, immediately spilled everything she had done. She went all out, hoping to damage the relationship between Jang Doni and me. But Jang Doni, after hearing this, just looked at her with an ambiguous half-smiling gaze. I looked at Xiao Nani and said in a low voice, Chia Nani, I trained you myself. I know your tactics better than you do. What? What do you mean? There was already a hint of panic in Xiao Nani's voice. She took a step back and even beads of sweat appeared on her forehead. I reached out and took out that power of attorney. As long as this power of attorney exists, every signature I make represents Xiao Ningwei's will. Xiao Ningwei's face immediately turned deathly pale. This is impossible. I never signed this. You forged it. Her expression twisted almost to the point of madness. Do you remember that time I used the excuse of rekindling our friendship to invite you for a drink? You got drunk later and I had you sign a pledge never to see Song Xian again. I didn't finish my sentence because Chao Nanwei had already understood everything. She looked at me blankly, her lips trembling. Xinchu, you actually lied to me. Right back at you. After all, you've lied to me more than once or twice already. I calmly folded that letter of authorization without looking at Xiao Nane's dejected expression. Xiao Nane had never intended to go easy on me. So, every contract she made me sign was completely fraudulent. Not only did the projects lose money, but several of them were entirely fake in content as well. She thought that because I hadn't been working outside all these years, I had long become completely clueless about these matters. What they don't realize is that some things once learned are etched into the mind forever. I had given her countless chances to make amends, but Xiao Nane never seized them. Since that's the case, I can hardly be blamed. Jang Doni suddenly applauded from the side, her eyes full of approval for me. Nice one, bro. Still sharp as ever, but compared to before, you've softened up a bit. What? Can't bear to let go. I smiled but didn't respond. Softened up for Xiao Ningwei. The thing she was most proud of was nothing other than her success in her career. But now she is burdened with hundreds of millions in debt. Under such circumstances, no one will be willing to cooperate with her new company. Xiao Ningyi is doomed to fail. For her, this is the best punishment. Just at that moment, Song Xian, still failing to grasp the situation, went and made the mistake of seeking trouble in front of Jang Doni. Ms. Jang, I heard you enjoy drinking. How about we find a time to have a few drinks together? Xinchu has been financially supported by Xiao Xiao all these years. There's no way he knows you. You must be mistaken. Jang Doni had no tolerance for mindless fools and immediately furrowed her brows. He gave Xiao Nanwei a look. Xiao Nane had no choice but to close her eyes and deliver a hard slap to Song Xian. Shut up, you fool. Jang Doni turned back to me and said, Hey, bro. The company's shareholder meeting is coming up soon. No matter what, you have to make it this time. Got it. I sighed. But in the end, I couldn't say no to him. Truth be told, becoming a shareholder in Jang Doni's company was a complete accident. Back then, Jang Doni had just started her business when she was scammed out of her money. He only asked to borrow money from me when he had no other options left. Actually, I didn't have much cash on hand at the time either, but I still gave him every bit of it. Later, Jang Doni would always tell me that without me, he wouldn't be where he is today. But for me, it was just lending a helping hand to a brother. When Xiao Nanwei heard Jang Doni's words, the look she gave me grew even more terrified. Unwilling to continue looking at those two faces, Jang Doni simply called the security guards to have them thrown out. That night, Jang Doni and I talked for a long time. He asked me about my future plans. I told him that after going in circles, what I loved most was still my work. Jang Doni smiled and clinked glasses with me. Now that's my brother. Making money is what really matters. After that day, I never saw Xiao Nani again. The bosses who had signed contracts with me came knocking one after another, and I simply placed the power of attorney right in front of them. They turned around and went back to find Xiao Nanwei. It was said that to repay the debt. Xiao Nani had already sold off all her new company and her house, but it was still a drop in the bucket to pay off the debt. She tried to get back the Rolls Royce she had given to Song Zhen, only to find that Song Zhen had already taken off with all her remaining assets. Having lost both her lover and her money, Xiao Nanwei stood outside Song Zhen's door, hurling insults at the top of her lungs. But after the breakdown, life had to go on. Xiao Nani borrowed a few thousand yuan from her former subordinate and went to the hospital to have an abortion, only to be told by the doctor that she had contracted a sexually transmitted disease. It turned out that Song Xin, despite appearing harmless and innocent in front of her, had been secretly sleeping with his fans behind her back. He had been with so many women that he was completely unaware of when he even contracted a disease. Poor Xiao Nanwei. Because of that disease, she was even refused an abortion. She wanted to settle the score with Song Zhen, but he had long since disappeared without a trace. With no way out, Xiao Nani actually turned around to come looking for me. So that's why she knelt at the entrance of my company for an entire day. I sat across from Jang Doni, unsure what expression to put on my face. Jang Doni nodded, nibbling on the snacks laid out on the table. Yeah, I went out of my way to dig up that info. Pretty explosive, huh, he said, then gave me a wink. I was silent for a long time. Not sure what to say. The news was indeed shocking, and Chia Nani really had suffered quite a bit, but all of it was merely the retribution she deserved. Later, Chia Nani never saw me again. She probably gave up on that idea and stopped showing up at the company entrance. I devoted myself entirely to work, putting the company on the right track in the shortest possible time with operating rates far exceeding those of all similarly sized companies. At the end of the year, my two other brothers returned from out of town, and we got together again. After 3 rounds of drinks, everyone was getting tipsy, leaning on each other and rambling nonsense. Jang Doni put her arm around my neck and leaned in close to my ear. Bro, let me tell you, I've never looked up to anyone in my life, but I truly admire you. Back in the day, you gave me every last cent you had. I'll remember that kindness for the rest of my life. Just say the word and I'll walk through fire and tread the mountain of swords for you, bro. I could tell Jang Doni was implying something more than what she said. So, I asked, what do you mean? He lowered his voice and moved closer to me. An inside information, your ex-wife, she stabbed someone, that little model, she's in prison now. It's just that the model was lucky enough not to die, but she lost his manhood. Just say the word and I'll have it arranged right away. Give her a life sentence. Jang Doni was speaking with great relish, her eyebrows dancing. I shook my head and slammed the wine bottle down on the table. Why do you even care about her? Us brothers, what's the most important thing? Making money. Women, let them come and go. Don't bother your heart over it. Yeah, make money. I watched them toast with big laughs and leaned back in my chair, smiling.